Hi guys, welcome to Lee Judges TV, and we are live. As you can see, I'm live here, Skegness Dave here, giving you all the fan extras live from the game between Brighton and Arsenal. We're going to start off with our very first fan cam on Fan Extras live today from Russ.
Russ for Lee Judges fan cams. A very wet and windy day down on the Sussex coast. It rained when we left, it rained during the game, and it rained on the way home. And sitting down the front of the stand there, that's one of my fan cams a bit late today, got absolutely drenched, and the performance didn't do much to sort of lift my spirits because we seem to concentrate wholly on a defensive plan to shut Brighton, who, by the way, played very well and had two really good chances in the first half. We seemed to lack creativity. We didn't have any width. Everything seemed to be centred on doing things down the middle, and we just didn't seem to be able to get around the back of Brighton at all. And the dreaded horseshoe of doom appeared a few times when we did manage to get possession of the ball for short periods. But Tomiyasu had a bit of a hard day, had a bit of a schooling by their left back Kokoredu, who was man of the match, I think. And all in all, I was just pleased to get out of there with a point, because it was very much after the Lord Mayor's show, after the Tottenham performance last week. So, yeah, pleased to get out of there with 1 point. And yeah, what else can I say, really? I mean, Aubameyang, a different player to the week before, but he didn't get much service, to be fair to him. And Odegaard just seemed to run out of steam. He seemed to be trying to do it on his own, press on his own. There wasn't anyone around him because of the defensive shape to help him. So, yeah, all in all, the fans were brilliant as normal. Gabriel and White looked quite solid at the back. Ramsdale made one, well, that's down the other end, it's hard for me to see. Made one, what seemed to be a really brilliant save to keep us in the game. So, yeah, all in all, a 6.5 out of 10 sort of performance, but we got the point. And we move on to the next game after the international break. So, up the Gunners, keep smiling, everyone. As I said before, it's going to be a rocky road. There may be a few bumps in it, but we are slowly getting there. At the Gunners.
So guys, what did you think of Russ's point there? Was it 6 out of 10 for Arsenal? Did they actually provide enough attacking threat to combat? Obviously, Brighton played really well considering the conditions, and Arsenal, I felt, were a bit flat-footed. So we're going to go into Albert's now, see what he had to say for the Brighton-Arsenal result.
Yes, people, welcome to Lee Judges TV, Albert JTV fan cam for the Lee Judges TV channel. So there we have it, stalemate. Brighton 0, Arsenal 0. My actual score prediction before the game was for Arsenal to get a score draw. I understand people were confident off the back of the win against Tottenham, but for me, generally, our record against Brighton away isn't particularly good if you're talking about history, but also in recent times in the Premier League. Yes, we won there 1-0 last season, but our record isn't great at Brighton. Yes, Brighton has some key players missing, but I just felt, you know what, with this Arsenal team, it's a new team. Yes, there's a starting 11 to work with there, but it's still a work in progress, even after the euphoria of last week. So I went for a score draw, but it was a 0-0 draw. Brighton are a good footballing side. You know, Graham Potter's been there a few years now. And you could kind of see in the first half the difference between the way he's got his team drilled and Arteta having the team that he's got, the first 11 in particular. There's still a way to go. And you saw that. I thought Brighton's wing-backs, Veltman and Cucurella, gave us a lot of problems. Tomiyasu struggled today. He's going to have games like that. The defence is going to have games like that. But unfortunately for Tomiyasu, he got a really good going over by Cucurella, who got man of the match, no surprise in there. I was happy with the team lineup. I didn't think there'd be many changes. There was only one with Lokonga coming in for the injured Xhaka. But we never really ever got a foothold in that game. I wouldn't even say that Brighton particularly pressed us very well. I just thought that they was very good when they had possession of the ball. There was more cutting edge. There was a bit more ruthless, apart from in the final third in terms of their finishing. And anybody that's seen Brighton play, even going back to last season, they get themselves into fantastic opportunities, people, or, you know, good passages of play. But what lets them down is their finishing. 61% possession they had, Brighton, no shots on target. We had more shots on target than Brighton with with less possession or hardly any possession at all. Our passing was sloppy. We didn't really string one or two passes together, and that was in the first half and in the second half. For me, there was only, like, Arsenal had
back again, obviously. Sorry to. We're gonna replay Albert's there. Sorry about that.
Yes, people, welcome to Lead Judges TV, Albert JTV fan cam for the Lead Judges TV channel. So there we have it, stalemate. Brighton 0, Arsenal 0. My actual score prediction before the game was for Arsenal to get a score draw. I understand people were confident off the back of the win against Tottenham, but for me, generally, our record against Brighton away isn't particularly good if you're talking about history, but also in recent times in the Premier League. Yes, we won there 1-0 last season, but our record isn't great at Brighton. Yes, Brighton has some key players missing, but I just felt, you know what, with this Arsenal team, it's a new team. Yes, there's a starting 11 to work with there, but it's still a work in progress, even after the euphoria of last week. So I went for a score draw, but it was a 0-0 draw. Brighton are a good footballing side. You know, Graham Potter's been there a few years now, and you could kind of see in the first half the difference between the way he's got his team drilled and Arteta having the team that he's got, the first 11 in particular. There's still a way to go, and you saw that. I thought Brighton's wing backs, Veltman and Cucurella, gave us a lot of problems. Tomiyasu struggled today. He's going to have games like that. The defense is going to have games like that. But unfortunately for Tomiyasu, he got a really good going over by Cucurella, who got man of the match, no surprise in there. I was happy with the team lineup. I didn't think there'd be many changes. There was only one with Lokonga coming in for the injured Xhaka. But we never really ever got a foothold in that game. I wouldn't even say that Brighton particularly pressed us very well. I just thought that they was very good when they had possession of the ball. There was more cutting edge. There was a bit more ruthless, apart from in the final third in terms of their finishing. And anybody that's seen Brighton play, even going back to last season, they get themselves into fantastic opportunities, people, or, you know, good passages of play. But what lets them down is their finishing. 61% possession they had, Brighton, no shots on target. We had more shots on target than Brighton with with less possession or hardly any possession at all. Our passing was sloppy. We didn't really string one or two passes together, and that was in the first half and in the second half. For me, there was only, like, Arsenal had a 3-4 minute period towards the end of the first half where there was a bit of concerted pressure. But, you know, if Brighton had better finishing, we would have lost that game today. And coming into the second half, I thought it improved a tiny bit when Ødegaard come off. ESR played a bit more central. Lacazette comes in a little bit later, and Lacazette is a better hold-up player than Aubameyang. That's no secret amongst the Arsenal fan base, but it wasn't that much better, and there wasn't any particular period in the first half or even in the second half. You might look at the ESR charts where people might argue could have got the ball across the Saka a bit quicker, but that for me was the only really highlight in terms of Arsenal going into the final third. It wasn't a great performance, but one thing which you try and do is, if you can't win the game, don't lose it, making silly mistakes. So somehow, goodness knows how, we got a clean sheet. I don't know how we got it, but we got it. So from that basis, that point, we take the point and we run. We absolutely sprint out of there like Usain Bolt, because it wasn't a great performance. Brighton, a bit more of a cutting edge, would have seen that game out. But we move. I think the key thing for me is that you're going to get performances this season like that with Arsenal, whether that's a home game or an away game, irrespective of the opposition, because this is a team that has to take shape and they're not going to do it overnight. And you saw that today. So people, we get the point, stalemate, not a great watch, but we take the point and we move. That's me out, Albert J TV for Lee Judges TV. We move on to the next game.
So, what did you think of Albert's points there? Sorry about the little blip in the middle of it where Albert's video seemed to stop halfway through, but obviously we replayed it for you so you can rewatch it. So, what did you think about Albert's points there? Obviously, Arsenal and their shots on target. Did they have enough to convert for the actual whole game or not? Who knows? So, we move on to the next guy. This is Lawrence, who's very close friends with Gunnar Russ. So, let's see what Lawrence has to say about the result yesterday. Brighton 0. Arsenal 0.
Hi, this is Lawrence from Los Angeles for the Judges TV. Brighton 0, Arsenal 0. Another case of after the Lord Mayor's show. 1 week we play out of our skins and beat a big name, and the following week when we come up against the below average side like Brighton, with due respect to Brighton, where we should be picking up 3 points, we struggle and we just get a point out of the game. There's no consistency in this team whatsoever, and it's just typical of Arsenal. Where have we seen this before? We never learn, and if this is the way Arteta and Edu want to take us, then just step down and give the job to someone who's forward thinking and can get the best out of the team, because there was nothing good about that performance today except for Ramsdale, who kept us in the game. Fair due to him. I had my doubts about him when we signed him, but he's proved me wrong. Another great performance between the sticks. But in saying that, the other 10 have got to pull their socks up. I don't know if it's to do with the weather, but you should be able to play in any type of weather when you're a professional footballer, whether it's sunny, whether it's raining, whether it's snowing. You should be up for it. And those 10 outfield players just didn't look that they were up for it today, which was a shame, because we had a great chance to climb the table and be challenging for a top 6 spot. But yet again, the inconsistency of this team shows its ugly face again. And until we get this right, then we can forget about Champions League and Europe. As I said, I just do not see any progress. I mean, last week was unbelievable, but the name of the game is consistency. And if you can't put that performance of last week against the team against Brighton, then you're not going to get anywhere.
Well, that was Lawrence there, guys. Very, very disheartened Lawrence from the performance. As you can see, was quite all over the place from Arsenal. I don't really agree with getting Arteta making the decision to just leave basically after Brighton, because the North London derby was a very, very good performance. But is it a bit of that, getting to the next game after a massive win and then not putting in performance to actually get that win as well? So we move on to Magic Mike. I don't know when Magic Mike actually filmed this. Obviously, Mike is co-host with Tanner for Arsenal Soup on Tuesdays at 10 p.m. So we're going to have to see what Magic Mike has to say and let's digress a little bit into his opinions for the match.
Hey everybody, it's Magic Mike from Arsenal Soup on Lead Judges TV and the Gooners podcast. Look, man, Brighton Arsenal away from home in the Premier League, it's never an easy game. I don't care if it's Burnley, Brighton, City, Liverpool. These are games that we can't afford to lose, but a lack of a decisive win isn't the end of the world as long as we take care of business at home. And we've got some games coming up that are winnable against Palace, against Villa, and even an away matchup against Leicester where we won last year. So look, it's not the end of the world. A point when we were clearly second best in this game is not the worst thing in the world. So I'm taking some solace out of that, looking at how Brighton's been playing this season. You got to hand it to them. So look, 0-0, no smash and grab, but no bending over and what we would have seen earlier in this season. So honestly, if there's one thing I am truly worried about right now, it's Gabriel's teeth. I mean, this is the second time since we signed this guy that he's lost a tooth. We can't be having this. I have to question the dentist. Arsenal's dentist, he must really suck. I'm sorry. And mate, brush them teeth, because at this point you only have like 30 teeth left, and then you'll be wearing dentures by next season. So, if there's one thing I can say out of this game, I mean, the one tactical piece of brilliance that I take from this game is that Gabriel needs to brush his teeth and stop, spilling them all over the pitch. Aside from that, no question that we had large portions of the game today where we looked second best. Is it because Brighton are actually a really good squad? And frankly, I think that they're fantastic, very well coached. Or were Arsenal suffering a bit of a hangover after our performance in the derby last week? I mean, every game is different. Every game is going to be decided on the day, and Brighton had a lot to offer today, up until they had to take a shot. Thankfully, their shooting today made even Thomas Partey feel better about his accuracy. And, Partey's getting better. It's in row Ned instead of row Z at this point. So he's getting in there, getting a little closer, I think. But yeah, a lot of poor shots today from both teams. Arteta's subs in the second half, I think, made a bit of a difference. Lacazette changed the game when he came in. We need to see a lot more of him this season, I think, even if Aubameyang has to be the one to make way every once in a while. No question that today was a bit of a shocker from Sambi. He's young. Today he showed his inexperience. It should be interesting to see if he holds his spot while Jacques is hurt, or if you see, some of Mainsley, or even that Odegaard situation where Odegaard plays next to Partey. And, if we see the latter of those things, maybe Pepe gets a bit of a more run in the starting 11. But, I had hoped to see more out of Sambi today, but you can't really expect too much out of a young kid. It would be odd for me to say we missed Xhaka because of what I think about Xhaka, but he has his spot on this team, and clearly I think a lot of people feel that he was missed today. So man of the match, I mean, it could be it could be Ramsdale again today. What an amazing save he had at the end. If Mape had gotten onto that and scored the winning match, this would have been a very different fan cam. But Ramsdale was great. ESR really looked like the man who was up for it the most out of everybody. But when your man of the match has about a 6 or 7 performance and not an 8 or 9, kind of tells you a lot about how the match went. After 7 games, we're 9th. We could be anywhere from 9th to 11th by the end of the weekend. It's not great, but we've had slow starts in the first month or two of the season under Wenger, and we finished up in Europe, so it's far from being too late to do it this year. After the break, we got Palace and Villa within 4 days at home with me in the Emirates, which means we're going to win. It's a great chance to climb into those European places and build from there. So, look, I'm taking some positives out of the game today. Remember to check out the Gooners podcast. Also, join us on Lead Judges TV Tuesday night at 10 p.m. UK for another episode of Arsenal Soup with a great guest interview. And come on, you Gooners.
Yeah, well, very interesting there from Mike. I just started cracking up when he started mentioning about the dentist and Gabriel's dentist and what's happening there. But yeah, big up Mike, of course. Make sure you check him out on the Gunners podcast on YouTube. Follow him on Arsenal Soup, and also check out Gunners versus Cancer on, obviously, for his charity. So Fergus is up next, guys. Let's see what he has to say about the Arsenal versus Brighton match.
Hi, I'm Fergus, recording a fan cam for Lead Judges TV. Just watched the Brighton Arsenal game, a 0-0 draw. Am I disappointed? I'd take a point under the circumstance of the conditions and everything else. The fact that Brighton gave us a game, unlike last week when Tottenham didn't even really turn up. The first half was poor. Our defence looked like they really struggled, and Brighton really put us under the cosh. The second half, I thought we were much better. Aubameyang, unfortunately, looked a bit more like the Aubameyang we've seen over the last season and a half. Just didn't really look at the races. The work rate of Lacazette in the 10-15 minutes he was on, in comparison to the 60-70 minutes that Aubameyang was on, was chalk and cheese. Yeah, would I have taken the point? As I said before, yes. I'm happy with the point. I thought ahead of the game that we would probably nick it, and even throughout the game I thought the way we showed some that were quite solid in like the midfield. I thought that we're going to do one of these smash and grabs and maybe nick it at the end. Highlights, I thought Saka looked bright but went off the boil. Smith Rowe looked okay. Tomiyasu had a few hairy moments. Pick a man of the match, I couldn't really. Maybe Ramsdale for that save that maybe he made look better than it actually was, but it still was a good save. Listen, a solid performance. It was a point against Brighton. If we played Brighton 3 or 4 weeks ago, would we have taken a point like that? I don't think so. We probably would have got smashed. So onwards to the Palace and the Villa game, and then away to Leicester.
So, what did you have to think about Fergus there? I mean, a lot of the actual fan camps today are obviously attributing Arsenal, maybe the conditions, were they suitable enough for Arsenal to play? A lot of new blood, obviously, in Arsenal's team, and can they really play in those conditions? Obviously, we always used to talk about a rainy day in Stoke. Well, it was a rainy day in Brighton, and Arsenal fell the brunt of it. So, we move on now to Scunny Mike, and let's hear what he has to say for his fan camp.
Hi, this is Scunny Mike coming to you from Lee Judges TV fan cams. What can I say? We've had our first ball draw of the season. We're going to get him. It's part and parcel of it, I'm afraid. So yeah, it wasn't a great game to watch. Unfortunately, I couldn't go down there. Just logistically, just a nightmare for me to get down there. So I'm glad I didn't in some respects. I feel for the fans who had to sit in the rain in that game. I really felt sorry for you all, especially with it being such a poor game. I felt Brighton were the better team. I feel like our fullbacks in Tomiyasu and Tierney didn't have their great games today. It's a shame that Tomiyasu had to have a poor game today, but you know he's not gonna turn up to everyone. I think it's physically impossible to do that. He had a torrid time against that left back of Brighton. I don't feel like I'm going to say his name, so I better not do, because I'll probably end up getting it wrong and I'll be tarnished for the rest of my life, so I'm not going to bother saying it. I felt he had a horrible time in Tomiyasu. I felt Ben White and Gabriel, they worked really well again today. I just feel with the fullbacks being so poor today, I think they had a really rough time of it today, and that's why Brighton got so many shots. A lot of them off target, thankfully. I feel if there were a lot of them were on target, I think we'll be telling a different story right now. I think Thomas Partey and Lokonga, they didn't have a great time in midfield either. I thought Lokonga looked better than Partey, if I'm being honest. I thought he was a bit more lively, a bit more sprightly to get to the ball a bit quicker. But he's still young, he's still learning the trade in the Premiership, so he's going to make a couple of mistakes here and there, but luckily enough they don't cost us goals, so that's one thing I suppose that's going for him. You know, I thought Aubameyang had a very poor game today. I didn't feel he did very much at all. He wasn't really pushing the ball forward. He wasn't really holding the ball up for letting other people come in. I felt like Lacazette in the second half did a lot better, and I felt we played better in the second half because of that. Pepe coming on, I didn't see the point. I thought Ødegaard had again another one who had a very poor game. Didn't really show what he was worth. He didn't show what we've seen of him so far. But all in all, it was a bad day at the office for Arsenal. Luckily, we got a 0-0 out of it, so we shared the points, rather than what would probably normally happen a few games ago, maybe even last season, we probably would have lost that fixture. Brighton, being the way they are at the minute, they've been very good this season so far. They've had some really good results, so I think we've come away with that unscathed in that sort of sense. But it could have come off a lot worse, so it's good to see that we can grind out them 0-0 draws when we need to.
Well, that was a Scunny Mike there, speaking obviously in regards to the match Brighton versus Arsenal. We're going to now move on to Kenny Ken for the very final and last fan cam for League Judges TV.
Hi everyone. Brighton 0, Arsenal 0. The theme of today is reality kicked in. Not kicks in, kicked in today. There was a lot of euphoria because of our wonderful win in the North London derby. Everyone thought we turned the corner. Me included. Well, a bit more cautious than a lot of people. But there was hysteria. You know, players were getting lauded up. Fans who decided a long time ago that Arteta wasn't the right man were getting criticised. Fans who came to the conclusion that Arteta is no longer the right man decided to chastise themselves because we beat Spurs. You know, and join in with calling them fans like myself deluded because we got a different view and we want to see Arsenal get back on that bike to compete with the top teams. And today we played a live team. Now I'm not denigrating our wins at the Emirates against Norwich, or our win at Turf Moor, or our win against North London Derby. But facts are, we perhaps played three teams that are low in confidence, and we benefited from that. And all right, we didn't play great against Norwich and Burnley, and we played fantastic against Spurs. But albeit, three teams low in confidence. But today we played a team that is highly confident, had a chance of going second in the table, albeit temporarily, but are playing well. You know, they look like a well-drilled team. They look like a team that knows what it's doing. They won every second ball. Not only did they win every second ball, we continually allowed Kukurea to be that out ball. No support for Tomiyasu. Now he's going to get slagged off, but I think that the elephant in the room is Saka didn't give him enough support. Now I'm not allowed to say that because he's one of the Highlanders, but I'll say it anyway because I can, because it's a fact. And I'll say it once, I'll say it 1,000 times. You have to analyse all our players' performances fairly, articulately, or if you want to say eloquently, the same way you do for other players. Saka today looked knackered. Saka threw Tomiyasu under a bus. That's just a fact. That's not me criticising Saka or being against him. I'm just seeing what I saw, or saying what I saw. And today Saka was awful. Smith Rowe, described by Alan Smith as our best player. Yes, he had most of the ball, but in the second half he made some poor decisions. Held on the ball too long. There was a time when Smith Rowe could have, put in Lacazette, but he decided to have a shot on goal, and that was turned out to be the wrong decision. He didn't shoot early enough, and when he did shoot, Sanchez was already in position and he already narrowed the angles. Now that's not criticism, just facts. And that is the whole situation. Perhaps when we were struggling, rather than bringing on a luxury player for Ødegaard, who I thought was awful today, we should have probably got on Ainsley Maitland-Niles to stiffen up the midfield and make it a free, because it's blatantly obvious we needed a bit of steel in there. We needed a bit of support for Partey and Lokonga, because Brighton had the spare man, and by bringing on Pepe for Ødegaard, we still allowed that situation to happen where they did have a spare man. players like Trossard, McAllister, Mope, and Marsh when he came on had too much space. Now, if we had a third midfielder in there, we would have closed out that space. But maybe Mikel settled for a point. Nothing wrong with that. We should have lost about 3 or 4-0. No one would have complained today. I wouldn't. But it just shows you the level of performance that Everton showed at Old Trafford is the sort of performance away from home that we need to be looking for. And that's just to finish 5th or 6th. Not getting a top forward challenge. So we need to take baby steps. You know what I mean? We haven't turned the corner. You know, we're not a great team overnight. We're still a work in progress. The manager still has questions to ask in terms of getting the balance of his front three. Again, a lot of people ask me, what does Martinelli have to do to get in the team or even get on the pitch? Has Arteta pigeonholed Martinelli into a position where other players are playing in that position that he's pigeonholed him into, and he can't get a game or even get on a pitch? That's a question that Arsenal fans should be asking. They should be also asking, you know, questions about, you know, Ainsley Maitland-Niles. How comes he can't get a game, especially when the game was crying out for some organisation and solidity in midfield? Again, the manager's got a lot of questions to ask. You look at Brighton. Now they have a good manager, up and coming manager. He's probably too English for a lot of owners in the Premiership, and probably too English for a lot of fans of our club. But that is the kind of manager that in about a year's time will probably get a gig at a big club. Who knows? You'll never know. As they say, no one knows tomorrow. But what I will say is we got away with one. We've got to be much, much better in our next 2 games at home. Firstly against Crystal Palace, who are going to come to the Emirates with a lot of pace and athleticism. They're going to be very, very organised, and they're going to have a bit of punch up front. And then we've got Aston Villa, strong running team. They've got players like Watkins and Ings. So again, these are teams who are better than Norwich, better than Burnley, and you know, playing better football than Spurs. So we've got to really raise our levels.
Well, that's pretty much rounded up the Fan Extras live from today. Who would you give as obviously the best fan cam of the day? Let us know in the comments below from the Fan Extras live. I think that was a really, really great addition. I think this is a great addition to League Judges TV, straight after obviously the Arsenal games that take place on a week-to-week basis. Obviously next week, Monday night games. If you look at it, obviously we're looking at Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. I think it's on a Friday, so it's going to be a late one. Let me tell you that. So before we go any further, make sure you like this video, subscribe to League Judges TV, and don't forget to check out more future content coming from this channel right your way. Take care, guys. Have a good day.